and again, that they were fulfilled both within their stomach and as well as their pockets. We want them to feel satisfied. Come eat with us at Demas's Restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
Does your home need freshening up? Let our family at Farrah Construction help you. We do painting, new flooring, anything that you need. If you can dream it, Farrah Construction can turn it into reality. Farrah Construction offers high-quality craftsmanship, quick response, and attention to detail. For home restoration at a price you can afford, Farrah Construction can get the job done no matter how big or small it is. I'm Ron Hall. Shop local. Let our family business help you. Farrah Construction Company.
From the big news of the day to stories from everyday life, it's the Rick Burgess Show on WGNS, weekdays 11 till 2.
A check of your Good Neighbor events calendar is next on All That's News at 4:55.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by America Pest Control, Old National Bank, and the law offices of John Day.
Hey, I'm ordering dinner. I was thinking burgers.
Boom! I just earned a $600 bonus for opening up a checking account at Old National Bank. Sorry, what'd you say? Burgers?
No, I definitely said 40-ounce dry-aged tomahawk steaks. Yep, with those little sauteed mushrooms.
Earn up to a $600 bonus when you open an eligible checking account and complete qualifying activities. Visit oldnational.com/checking and get old. Member FDIC. Additional restrictions apply. Offer valid through June 30th, 2026.
WGNS has been keeping you informed for over 79 years. The Parkinson Support Group meets on the first and third Friday of each month, 10 o'clock in the morning at the St. Clair Senior Center. The annual Red Cross Heroes Luncheon is Thursday, March 12th at MTSU's Student Union Ballroom. This year, the Heart of Tennessee chapter honors John Floyd of Old South Properties. Tickets are $100 each and available at the Red Cross. Once again, the Red Cross Heroes Lunch is Thursday, March 12th, 11 o'clock in the morning at MTSU's Student Union Ballroom. Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department begins its Coffee Marathon March the 1st and continuing through May 31st. Buzz by each of the 9 participating coffee shops. You can walk or run all 9 routes and receive your commemorative coffee mug. Sign up now for the March 1st through May 31st Murfreesboro Parks Coffee Marathon. For information, get with the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
When illness or injury turns everyday moments into uphill battles, there are medical professionals who step in with skill, compassion, and unwavering dedication. My name is Joey P. I'm CEO of Murfreesboro Medical Clinic, and we are proud to highlight this month's MMC Heart for Healing recipient.
We recognize Dr. Sean Horwitz, a surgeon at MMC, whose reputation is built on as much his heart as it is his hands. Dr. Horwitz makes every patient feel like his priority. Whether performing complex robotic surgery or providing life-changing breast care, he combines elite technical precision with a rare, compassionate touch that truly defines him. Dr. Sean Horwitz, our MMC Heart for Healing.
If a doctor, nurse, or medical professional has made a difference in your life, tell WGNS. Help us recognize the medical heroes in our community by nominating them for the MMC Heart for Healing Award, and help us recognize the medical heroes in our community.
Here's Dr. Craig McCabe at McCabe Vision Center.
The most common cause of sudden, acute, painless vision loss is a stroke to the eyes, and that can involve either an artery or a vein. People that have suffered through this will tell you that it didn't hurt.
He's the eye doctor you hear on the radio.
My father went to him before I did, and we liked him very much.
McCabe Vision Center on Heritage Park Drive, just off Memorial, behind SunTrust Bank.
Don't let concerns about today's events derail your long-term financial strategy. Hi, I'm Edward Jones Financial Advisor Lee Colvin, and I'm here to help. We can work together to understand the impact of these events and make sure that your goals are top of mind. While you can't control market volatility, we'll help focus on what you can control. We can connect in several virtual ways. Start by giving me a call at 615-907-7056. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's All That's News with Matt Lane on News Radio WGNS.
The News Watch continues with an update from CBS News next.
Portions of our programming have been pre-recorded. The Good Neighbor Network. WGNS Murfreesboro. W270 AF Murfreesboro. W263 AI Murfreesboro, Smyrna.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Cuba's Interior Ministry says its Coast Guard off its north coast has killed 4 people aboard a Florida-registered speedboat. CBS's Christian Benavides.
There were 10 people overall on board this speedboat. What the Cuban government has said is that border guard members approached the speedboat, asked for an ID, and at that moment, those who were on board the speedboat opened fire on the border guard members, and the border guard members returned fire.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. will investigate and respond accordingly. Vice President J.D. Vance says as part of an aggressive crackdown of misuse of public funds,
we have decided to temporarily halt certain amounts of Medicaid funding that are going to the state of Minnesota in order to ensure that the state of Minnesota takes its obligations seriously to be good stewards of the American people's tax money.
Feds say they'll hold off on paying $259 million in Medicaid funding to Minnesota, which is the health care safety net for low-income Americans. The U.S. and Iran are set for another round of nuclear talks in Geneva. CBS's Cammie McCormick.
While the two sides have ratcheted up the rhetoric and military posturing, Iran's foreign minister says he believes progress is possible.
I think a fair, balanced, and equitable deal is achievable, and we can do it.
Still, he indicated Iran is not willing to give up its right to a peaceful nuclear program. President Trump said last week he was willing to give Iran 10 to 15 days to make a deal.
We now know whose medical problem forced the return of 4 International Space Station astronauts in January. CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood.
Astronaut Mike Fink says he was the crew member aboard the International Space Station who had a medical condition of some sort in January that required him and 3 crewmates to make an early return to Earth. NASA never identified the crew member in question or disclosed what might have been wrong because of strict medical privacy guidelines.
Fink says he's doing very well and continuing standard post-flight reconditioning. A big recall involving some BMWs, some of its most prestigious models.
Nearly 59,000 BMWs, including the flagship 7 Series and several electric vehicles, have an issue with a wiring harness in the air conditioning. It can short and cause a fire risk. The vehicles involved are from the 2024 through 2026 model years.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announces its 2026 list of nominees, which includes In Excess, Phil Collins, Lauryn Hill, Shakira, and Iron Maiden. Final class will be revealed in April. This is CBS News.
Join Adriana Diaz and Kelly O'Grady for the perfect start to your weekend. Ease into your Saturday with CBS Saturday Morning on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
DQ presents The Spicy Menu. For a limited time, try the new Flamethrower Chicken Strip Basket for $6.99 with spicy, bold strips that heat you up. Served with a side of famous DQ soft serve as a dip to cool you down. That's right, dip those spicy chicken strips right into soft serve. Plus fries and toast, all for just $6.99. And add a new pineapple lemonade sparkler or cooler made with tahini. It's the limited time only Spicy Menu. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy, tastes good. Participation may vary.
A couple of disabled vehicles are causing problems out here. 24 eastbound, just past Bradley Parkway here in Antioch. It's a white vehicle. It's been stalled out for a while here, but it's got traffic slow. 24 east trying to get past Bradley Parkway, headed out into Antioch. 65 north over around Metro Center. Looks like a disabled vehicle had traffic clogged up. STR Towing and Recovery says give them a call here in Middle Tennessee if you need their help with a car or a big truck. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Local farmers, local meats, vegetables, and other produce at the Winter Spring Rutherford County Farmers Market.
Bundle up and make your way every Friday at Lane Agri Park.
Rutherford weather.
Storms likely tonight, otherwise cloudy skies. Low is around 49. Highs level off around 62. Tomorrow, chance of thunderstorms. I'm WGNS meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 59 degrees.
We do it your way, Sir Pizza.
Your favorites can now be ordered online at sirpizzatn.com. Carryout and delivery are available. Just go to sirpizzatn.com and tap the location closest to you.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com.
From the first pitch to the final buzzer, this is where the conversation starts. All sports talk on WGNS and Big G TV, covering the Preps, MTSU, news from Tennessee and nationwide. Now, here's all sports talk on the Good Neighbor Network.
And welcome inside the WGNS studio on this Wednesday afternoon, transitioning into Wednesday evening. Dylan Simmons with you live on the Good Neighbor Network. Always a pleasure to have you tune in to All Sports Talk. And we've got another special show coming up on the way. Weather outside, a little less frightful. It's a little bit warmer. We're starting to maybe transition to spring. I know we're still a ways away from fully being in spring, but you got to take the little strides where you can and got to stay positive. And I think there's a lot of reasons to be positive about the weather considering the stuff we've had in recent weeks. It's also a great time on the sports calendar. So many things are converging. You've got college baseball starting up. NASCAR obviously has been back for a couple weeks. There's going to be more motorsports coming up in the future. Basketball in full swing. It's just a great time in general to be a sports fan. We'll go over a lot of that today on All Sports Talk. Packed show coming up. We're going to talk MTSU men's and women's basketball, both with some big games over the weekend as a fly flies into my face. Love when that happens. We've also got MTSU men's tennis that we'll be covering as well. They had a big weekend in the Battle of the Borough Invitational Tournament. We'll talk a little bit about high school basketball region playoffs coming up soon. We'll get the full breakdown here tonight, and we will also talk about the NASCAR race at Echo Park. I call it Atlanta Motor Speedway, that happened this past weekend that yours truly was on site for. So we'll go over all of that as we get into the show. Let's start things off tonight with MTSU men's basketball. Of course, they played the Delaware Blue Hens this past weekend, and I was also on location for this game, and more than on location, I also had a special role. We'll get into that a little bit later, but this was a big win for MTSU, a much-needed win after, I'd say, somewhat of a rough stretch that they've had in recent weeks, and really in the last few games of this season. For weeks, we've been talking about how MTSU has been in close competitive games that they've just not been able to come away with right at the end. They've had some games kind of slip away from them at the final moments, so they're trying to put that behind them. And this was a big game in terms of putting that streak behind them and making that next step as a basketball team as we get further and further on into the postseason. Those are the kinds of games and kinds of losses, those close losses, mind you, that can really stick with you if you're not careful. And MTSU, the good thing about them is they didn't let it stick with them here in this game, and they immediately turned it around with a big performance on Saturday night. Before we get further in, first thing I want to say is thank you to Chip Walters and the great folks at the Blue Raider Network for giving me the opportunity to call the game as a halftime show analyst on Saturday. It was really cool to run the point for halftime. And I've always said that, calling college athletics on the radio has always been kind of my dream goal, something that I want to end up doing. And to even get to experience that for just a few minutes was priceless. So hopefully I did a good job for all of you listening in, and I hope you enjoyed it because I had a tremendous time getting to have that opportunity. Secondly, the arena was electric on Saturday, and of course, there were a lot of things going on during the weekend. Not least of those was the honoring of the incredible 2016 Blue Raiders basketball team as a part of Legends Weekend. Obviously, this team has become legendary in the eyes of Blue Raider fans in the years since they made that run in the tournament. And I would say that the amount of time that people have rewatched the Reggie Upshaw game-sealing dunk probably totals in the millions of minutes. I'm sure that that's just been played over and over and over again in the eyes of MTSU fans. I mean, heck, I've watched it probably as much as anybody, so I know exactly where people are coming from when they talk about how special that dunk was and how special that moment was. Those are the kinds of games, and I'm sure you already know this, that you just don't see very often, and you don't see that kind of run be a commonality in many years. So to have that experience and to see MTSU pull that off, I mean, if you'll remember back to the time, there was a moment there where that was considered the greatest upset in college basketball history. So that was a massive upset. Michigan State was a very highly ranked team, number 2 seed in the country, MTSU a 15 seed, and I think if you ask the folks in Murfreesboro, they would say that that may not have been as big of an upset as people made it out to be, because MTSU had a really good team that year. You had Giddy Potts, you had Reggie Upshaw, a lot of other great players, and it was cool to see some of them get honored this weekend. And of course, you've also got to shout out Kermit Davis for his induction into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Well-deserved, and I'm honestly shocked that it hadn't happened sooner with all that he had accomplished in the Tennessee basketball sphere, especially with MTSU men's basketball. His name is legendary here in this community. People talk about him all the time. What he accomplished and what he did during his time in Murfreesboro, very few people have been able to replicate that or even come close to matching it. So you got to give credit to Kermit Davis and this team for what they were able to accomplish back then. And it's really cool to see Kermit getting honored for that and being in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Got to see him in person for the first time, and he's just as great of a guy as you'd imagine. And it was cool to see a living legend get honored in that way at halftime over there in the Glass House. Now, going back to the game itself, this was a big win for MTSU, as I mentioned before. Now, this is going to be one of their biggest homestands coming up, and their last homestand of the season. So you want to make sure that you make opportunities like this count. This was the first of that 3-game homestand, and as someone who was there on the ground, what I can tell you is that the defense played as good of a half of basketball as they've played all season long, and to be honest, I think that is what won them the basketball game. That's about as simple as I can tell you in the words of Jim Mora. There are great stretches of a game where a team takes over and never looks back in a contest, and I would say that this was one of them for MTSU. Now, I don't want to delve as much into stats today because I think the story of the game kind of speaks for itself, for lack of a better term. I was impressed by the scheming and the system on the floor. The way that MTSU was able to put things together, get people in position, get guys on defense back quickly in both in transition and for your regular, for lack of a better term, set defense. The way they were able to make that work in scheming was sensational. You got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff, Nick McDevitt, everything they did in that situation to put their players in the best possible spot to help MTSU eventually get that victory. They held a Delaware team who had won, I think, 3 of their last 4 in Conference USA play, held them to 20 points in the first half. That Blue Hens offense had been humming for weeks, and MTSU just shut them down like that. It was incredible to see MTSU have that sort of success on defense, especially considering the struggles they've had defensively at points this season. That was not the case in this game. They were ready to go, and they showed out in a big, big way. Now, the offense was also great, very much opportunistic overall. If there's one thing that has been somewhat of a crutch for MTSU this season, it's been their over-reliance on the three-point shot. We've talked about that a lot. It's been a consistent thing for MTSU to use that three-point shot and make that kind of their signature as far as how their offense goes. And sometimes it's helped them. When they've been on a shooting spree, they can have games like they had against Louisiana Tech back in early January where they make 22 threes and just run away with the basketball game. But on the flip side of that, you can also miss a lot of threes and shoot yourself out of the gym. And MTSU's had that go against them a couple times this season. I thought in this game on Saturday, they were much more consistent with shot selection and making sure that they were in position to capitalize on open shots. They still shot threes, but they made sure they were high efficiency, highly open potential shots in this game. And that was much better overall to see for MTSU because, again, they've sometimes over-relied on that three-point shot. They didn't on this night, and I think it helped them out tremendously. And to me, it also goes to show that the pre-planning and scheming that they do is paying huge dividends down there, because this isn't a new thing for the men's basketball team, so to speak, as of late. Nick McDevitt has been kind of instilling this in them in recent weeks. They knew going into the season they were going to be a heavy three-point shooting team, and they've been that, but Coach McDevitt has tried to get the guys a little bit more in rhythm, get them to kind of diversify this offense a little bit, go inside, get those tough looks, draw contact, go to the free throw line, and they've been able to do that with pretty good success as of late. Another big difference maker in this game was the rebounding for MTSU. They cleared the Blue Hens out in that department. They out-rebounded Delaware 38-24 and had a 40-24 paint points advantage. So that is the kind of painting that Michelangelo would be proud of. Blue Raiders, to put it simply, were much more physical, and it showed in their play style and the results that they got on the hardwood in this game. When you're able to put a body on a body and get inside and box out the other team, kind of just be more physical and instill that physicality on the other side, it's really hard for the other team to be able to counter that, and MTSU had the physical advantage. They've been out-physicaled in some games this season. This was not one of them. They were ready for whatever Delaware brought them. Now, the second half was a bit more like the traditional games we've seen as of late, where MTSU kind of gets sloppy on defense. They ended up giving up 46 points in the second half. Delaware kind of roared back at the end. It looked like for a second that perhaps the Blue Hens would be able to mount some sort of a comeback. But again, MTSU was not going to be denied late in this game. They kept on keeping on, and a lot of that is thanks to what their offense was able to do late in this game. Two guys in particular really took over in the second half. Torrey Alston and Sean Smith are two guys that I think specifically need to be highlighted. Torrey had a great first half as well, had 8 points, but he did a really good job of boxing out here, and he was able to get his team second chance points time and time again. The offensive rebounds were huge, and he got a massive double-double. 15 points, 12 rebounds. Said it before on the show. He's one of those guys that's really starting to round into form late in the season. He gets better and better with each passing game, and he's becoming a bigger and bigger presence for MTSU and a tougher guy for opposing defenses to stop. He may be playing his best overall basketball of his college career right now, and it's a heck of a time to do it because MTSU needs it with obviously postseason coming up and this end-of-season stretch in Conference USA. Torrey is showing out in a big way. Sean Smith, he was also great. He ended up doing a good job of forcing Delaware into contact, put MTSU at the free throw line a lot as well. 5 made free throws in this game. MTSU has gotten better with free throws as the season has gone on. Like I said before, they're drawing more contact, putting themselves in position to make those free throws, and Sean Smith was a massive part of that in this game, putting his Blue Raiders in position. Smith, to me, embodied a spirit of play that frankly, I've wanted to see more of from MTSU this year, which is hard-nosed, downhill basketball in the post where it's strength on strength. I believe that MTSU can certainly win games in that fashion. I think they've shown that in different cases, and I think if we see more of that as this season continues on, mix that in a little more with the three-point game, this is going to be a special team. If they can play, again, that's a lot to ask, but if you can balance all that out, it really sets you up for a great, great position. One more guy who deserves a shout-out, Chris Loof. What a tremendous defensive performance that he had. He was just a wall inside, and there was nothing really that Delaware could do with him. And he got his second career double-double in the process. 13 points, 11 rebounds. Watching Chip on the call, he ended up saying Chris was the player of the game, came in to do his interview. You could tell he was exuberant. You could tell he was excited about what he just did, what the team just did, and Chris should have been because he was just everywhere inside the post in that game. And, he's been another guy that we've been waiting to kind of kick it into next gear, so to speak. And I think that he did that in this game and really just made life hard for a somewhat undersized Delaware who only had 6 active players for this game, and that just made it really hard when you had Chris Loof, 6'7", up there, or 6'11", I should say. Don't want to undersell the height. He's a big guy down there just swatting at the ball, getting it back for his team. So good stuff from Chris Loof. This is a huge win for MTSU as far as the CUSA standings go. They now further gap Delaware, put them even further in the rearview mirror, and they get their revenge against the Blue Hens from a couple weeks ago. They also stake their claim to 7th in the CUSA standings. So Obviously, right now, MTSU is set up well to make the Conference USA tournament, but again, it's about continuing to play consistently. We say consistently a lot on this show, but it's for good reason, because the teams that are the most consistent, that know their identity late in the season, usually have the chops to go far. I think MTSU is discovering it more and more. Made a big statement on Saturday. Now they got to go out there and do it again. We'll get more into this on the show tomorrow, but they got a big game against UTEP coming up tomorrow night, and that's going to be an opportunity to reinforce what we saw on Saturday. It's up to them to answer the question, though, of whether or not that was the standard or that's kind of an aberration game, and it's going to be tougher on defense from here on out. So we'll see which reality prevails, but I personally, and I think other folks may share this opinion, have high hopes for the MTSU men's team the rest of the way. We are going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll talk MTSU women's basketball's trip to Bowling Green. We'll talk about the high school region playoffs coming up in boys and girls basketball, and MTSU men's tennis sweep of the weekend in the Battle of the Borough. All that and more after this break right here on All Sports Talk.
Lace up your best kicks for a night of impact benefiting First Shot. Join us for the annual Sneaker Ball presented by Venture Express. Spend Sunday, April 26th with NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl MVP Marcus Allen. The event kicks off at 6 with a VIP meet and greet at 5. Reserve your table today. Call Coach Andy Herzer at 615-631-5312. We'll see you at the Sneaker Ball benefiting First Shot on April 26th.
Hi, I'm Wade Hayes, owner of Toots Good Food and Fun. I strongly believe that volunteers make a positive difference in the quality of life here in our community.
State Farm Agent Michael Busey serves as Vice Chair for Main Street Murfreesboro's Advisory Board. He is essentially the board's steady second in command, the person who keeps things moving when the chair can't be there, and helps to share the leadership load. Michael Busey, a dedicated volunteer with Main Street Murfreesboro, whom people can count on.
At Toots, we strongly believe that it's important for every one of our citizens to give some of their time and talent back into the community. And we want to honor these individuals with a Toots gift certificate good at any of our Rutherford County locations. 860 Northwest Broad Street, on Church Street in the Barfield area, in Smyrna on Sam Ridley, and Toots West on Franklin Road at Rucker Lane.
Whether you need general vehicle upkeep and maintenance or a complete vehicle overhaul, Hall's Auto Care is here for you. We're locally owned and operated by Greg Hall and have been in business since 2014. You'll get excellent service and trustworthy advice with Hall's Auto Care. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. We're ready to help get you safely on the road. Hall's Auto Care, 907 Ridgely Road, just off Broad Street behind Chili's. Online at hallsautocare.net. Hall's Auto Care.
At State Farm, when home and auto work as a team, you score and save money. I'm State Farm Agent Andy Wama. Give me a call at 615-890-0850 and let's work together to win big by saving money on home and auto. With the service you get from State Farm, you might think our car insurance costs more. I'm State Farm Agent Andy Wama. Give me a call at 615-890-0850 and let me show you with discounts up to 40%. You may find it even costs less.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Auctions are easy, fast, and profitable.
Whether you're buying or selling a home or commercial property, the auction is just so much easier, quicker, smoother.
My wife and I sold our personal home. Parks Auction helped us with that. The house brought about 20% more than we were going to ask for.
Visit parksauction.com.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Clark's Auction Company, committed to auction excellence.
Sold it to you, 27.5.
Well, good afternoon. There's a couple of spots out here where it's still slow as they clean that wreck up on 40 westbound, just past Highway 70 in the Bellevue area. That's really got traffic slow. All that heavy traffic pushing out in that area, West Nashville. It's also slow go from a disabled vehicle of all things over here. It's been here for hours on 24 East, just past Briley and Antioch. Trying to get out in that area right now. It's heavy pushing towards Murfreesboro. STR Towing and Recovery says call them 24/7 if you need their help. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
It's All Sports Talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, WGNSradio.com, and Big G TV.
Welcome back here on All Sports Talk on this Wednesday evening. Dylan Simmons with you on the Good Neighbor Network. That is WGNS here in beautiful Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I don't know why I said Tennessee like that. Let's just put that in the rearview mirror and look ahead to the future. That's what I'm going to try to do. There's a lot of great MTSU athletics events coming up this weekend. We've got MTSU men's basketball, home games Thursday and Saturday. MTSU baseball back at home this weekend as well. They're going to be hosting Illinois State. We'll talk more about baseball on tomorrow's show. And also MTSU men's tennis. If I'm not mistaken, they host this weekend as well. They'll be taking on a ranked number 19 Princeton team. So, folks, and I didn't even mention high school basketball region playoffs happening this weekend as well. So there's a lot to get excited about, a lot of great sporting events taking place across the mid-state. My best advice would be get out there and go see a game because there's a lot of good stuff happening, and I don't think you want to miss out on what's taking place right now. It's a special time as far as the sports calendar goes. Getting back into the meat of the show here, MTSU women's basketball took a trip up to Bowling Green on Saturday to take on the Western Kentucky Lady Hilltoppers. And this was a tough game and somewhat of a surprising game for MTSU that really, for lack of a better term, was kind of out of left field. We just usually don't see this with this MTSU women's basketball team and what they're more often than not able to accomplish. We saw earlier this season just how dominant MTSU was at home against this Western team. Looked to be on the road and looked to be doing that again here on Saturday afternoon, but that really just didn't materialize for MTSU, and we're going to try to figure out exactly why that is, but I don't know if you can put it on a sole reason, so to speak. It's just kind of a combination of things. Getting more in depth with this. The first half of the game, pretty competitive early on. Both teams kind of traded blows back and forth in the first few minutes. Your standard fare for a college basketball game. However, what Western did show early on was that they were going to have the ability to score early and often, and that played out in a big way throughout this game. Got up 18-8 at one point, and if you would have told a Lady Raider fan that Western Kentucky was going to be able to do that to them just a couple weeks ago, they would have been shocked, because we just saw back on January 31st how MTSU was able to play Western Kentucky and played them pretty dominantly, took them to the woodshed, really, on the way to basically what was a 20-point victory. So you wouldn't have thought that Western Kentucky was going to be able to just flip that result the minute that they went back at home against MTSU, but that's kind of what happened here, and it just shows that basketball is chaotic, it doesn't always follow trends, and there's a lot of things that can happen very quickly that you just don't expect, and that was kind of what took place here. I can't say for sure whether there wasn't some form of underestimation in this game. I'm not going to say that there definitively was, but again, you look at the metrics, MTSU, I think at the time they were 4th in CUSA, considered one of the best teams in the conference. Western Kentucky kind of dwindling towards last in the conference, trying to get their footing as we get further and further along into this season. And I think if you're a Lady Raider fan, you really do think, well, we're in position to pretty well dominate this game just like we did a few weeks ago. There are a few things you have to take into account, though, when you translate what we saw on January 31st to the game that we got here. In that first game, MTSU was much better when it came to shooting the basketball, much more consistent, got three-point shots time and time again. Elena Contreras really put the game out of reach within the first, I would say, 15 minutes of action. So that played a big part in how that game went. MTSU was able to kind of just coast from the rest of that way with that big lead, and they never stopped getting those three-point shots with Contreras and company. So that certainly helped them in that situation. They didn't have that as much in this game. The shooting just wasn't quite there like they were hoping it would be. I really think that the unfortunate thing for MTSU was that the offense just wasn't in their usual rhythm and usual manner. Now, they had great stretches. Elena Contreras, along with Macy Pfeiffer and Yuhan Lin, all showed promise at points, but they were never able to fully maintain that. It came in short bursts that didn't last for more than a couple minutes. In the game of basketball, I've said it many times, it's a game of runs. You want to make sure that you have the best possible run in a game to put your team in position to win. Lady Raiders didn't really have that big run that they needed to either tie Western Kentucky or put themselves well out in front of Western Kentucky. And that didn't help them in this game. It put them in a bad spot. Coaches will tell you also that you have to be able to maintain your maximum output throughout the course of a game. And I do wonder if MTSU didn't quite have that max output early on. Again, not questioning the effort of these ladies and what they were able to do. It's just I wonder if subconsciously there was something going on that where, it's a team that we've beaten a lot before. We should be able to handle this. And all of a sudden, you get smacked in the mouth and you're down by, however many points. So you do wonder if that played a part in this game, at least to some degree. Western Kentucky, on the other hand, they had those consistent stretches, and they had them more often. They were able to separate away from MTSU in this game. By halftime, they were up 30-19. That's not an insurmountable deficit, but it's certainly a huge way for MTSU to try to come back from. You had a lot of logistics against MTSU. They're having to go into a road environment against their arch rival. You're down double digits at the half. It's going to be a lot to ask, and MTSU did what they could to fight back, but the third quarter, things just got even more out of hand. At one point in that second half, Western Kentucky was up by 20-plus points. So it's not often, even against the good teams, that MTSU falls down by that much. And it just shows Western Kentucky was playing quite possibly one of their best games of the season. And at the same time, MTSU is playing probably one of their lesser games of the season. So that's a bad combination. And even for a team that's close to being dead last in CUSA, if you're playing your best brand of basketball, people know this who watch Conference USA basketball, it's a fact that you can play that bad, but the teams are so even that it ends up making for a situation like this where they're a lot closer than you think, despite what the records say. And I think that's kind of what happened here in this one. What I will say in a sea of concern for MTSU is that in the fourth quarter, they did a great job fighting back and putting themselves in position to at least have a chance to grab the victory. MTSU went on a 14-2 run and used that to eventually cut the deficit to 3 points. And it's honestly incredible that they were able to do that much. Again, a lot of teams would have already faded by then, but MTSU kicked off the brakes, got it going, and eventually they started to rev the engine a little bit. And after that point, they were able to make this a much more evenly contested game and kind of dominated the fourth quarter against that Hilltopper team. Unfortunately, it was too little, too late in this contest, and WKU snuck by after that and claimed the win to upset MTSU. Like I said before, one of the saving graces of this game was Macy Pfeiffer and what she was able to accomplish, 21 points on the day. This freshman continues to show out week in and week out. One of the better, I'd say, overall players in Conference USA right now, and she's very young. Blair Bogus, the same way. She ends up getting a double-double, 13 points, 12 rebounds. Yet another freshman who led the way for MTSU in this game. And that just shows that these freshmen have wisdom beyond their years. And I've said it a lot, but when you think about how young this team is right now, if you give them a few more years to learn more, get wiser, get more veteranosity, this could be a really special team. I mean, there's a great unit brewing there right now. Sometimes the youth does get in the way, but if you add a few more years of experience, that's going to be a really fun team to watch in the near future. So I think that's one thing that you have to be very excited about if you're an MTSU fan, is that these freshmen helped the team stay above water even when they were down 20-plus points in the second half. In spite of all that, there's no question this is a really tough loss to stomach if you're an MTSU fan. And I think Rick Insell said it best as to what happened in this game. He stated that MTSU waited too long to get after it. And in the second half, we did a better job, but we still waited too long to get after it. And I have to agree, they waited too long to get after it, I think, early on in the game, and just eventually paid the price for that late when they, for lack of a better term, awoke, and it just wasn't enough to win this contest. So I think the Lady Raiders understand that. It sounds like Rick Insell understands that. And like I said before, you just have to put it behind you and look ahead to the future. I think, if anything, this was more of an aberration game. I'm not saying that outright. Obviously, a win is a win, and Western Kentucky certainly deserved the victory in that situation. But I don't think that's really who MTSU is. I think they've shown the opposite of that time and time again, and I don't think that is going to be a consistent trend from here on out. It was just a bad day at the office. It happens, and now the Lady Raiders get to reset and get ready for the next one, which comes up here tomorrow. We'll have that game on WGNS as they take on Liberty on the road in Virginia. Speaking of basketball, district tournaments are now concluded in high school basketball, especially here in Class 4A, where a lot of the Murfreesboro teams reside. We're going to take a brief preview of some of the matchups we've got coming up in boys and girls basketball. We'll start with the boys, and we'll start with the West region and some of the games that you might want to take a look at if you're a fan of Murfreesboro high school basketball. Of course, Blackman, the number 1 seed, the winners of District 9 4A. They're going to be taking on Siegel, so that's going to be a Murfreesboro versus Murfreesboro matchup. They're in different districts, but you got 2 teams from Rutherford County facing off. That's going to be a really fun one, and that's going to be Saturday at 7. By the way, all these boys games will be Saturday. It looks like it's 7 o'clock, either that or probably 7:30. There is one at 3 o'clock, which is going to be Independence versus Franklin, so just keep that in mind throughout this process. But I look at some of these other ones. You got Stewart's Creek taking on Riverdale. That's another couple local teams, 2 teams that have played pretty well down the stretch. You've got Stewart's Creek from District 9, the number 2 seed, Riverdale, number 3 seed. A couple of great Murfreesboro, or at least close to Murfreesboro teams. You also look at Oakland taking on Smyrna. Smyrna, another Rutherford County team. Oakland the same way. Oakland, of course, the number 1 seed in District 10. Smyrna, the number 4 seed in District 9. I think Oakland will be the heavy favorite in that game, but I think it's still going to be a very solid contest. And we've seen Smyrna play some really good basketball this season at times, and they may very well do that again. So keep a close eye on that one as well. Looking at the East Division and trying to stay somewhat local with some of these games as I adjust my microphone here. I think I banged into it with my hand, so good job on my part. Shelbyville Central, for all of our listeners down in Shelbyville, of course, I get to call the basketball games on the Rooster 101.5, and they were able to just make it to the district championship game, but came up a little bit short last night in a really fun district title game against Lincoln County. Lincoln County claims the number 1 seed in District 4A6, and they'll get to, as a result, play Bradley Central. That'll be coming up on Saturday at 7, with the game taking place in Fayetteville. And the Golden Eagles host East Hamilton Saturday at 7 o'clock as well. Looking at some of these other ones, the eastern part of the state has some good matchups. Science Hill, number 1 seed, the champion of District 3, takes on Jefferson County, who is going to be the number 2 seed in District 2. Actually, Science Hill, is the number 3 seed in District 1. That's the matchup there, among a lot of other great ones. So really fun stuff on the boys' side. And on the girls' side, you've got some fun matchups as well. This is one that really piques my interest. Blackman takes on Riverdale, number 1 seed, champion in District 9 versus the number 4 seed in District 10. Look out for that one because, again, you got another crosstown situation, a little bit of a history between those 2 teams, and it's going to be under the lights on Friday nights, so it's going to be intense. I would keep an eye on that game if you're a fan. Not only that, you've got another Oakland-Smyrna matchup. Oakland taking on Smyrna on Friday, a number 1 seed champion in District 10 versus the number 4 seed in District 9. Stewart's Creek also taking on Siegel in that contest. A lot of the same matchups between different districts in both boys and girls, which is interesting that you're getting repeat matchups, but it's kind of the way the bracket worked out this year. So pretty interesting from that perspective. Page takes on Ravenwood. Page winning the District 12 championship. Ravenwood, the number 4 seed in District 11. That one's going to be a fun one as well. And then on the eastern side of the bracket, the Shelbyville Central Golden Eaglettes, who I call for, take on the top-seeded Bradley Central from District 5, the champions of that district. You've also got, as far as eastern region teams go, Sevier County won the district title in District 2. They'll take on a really stout Dobbins-Bennett team from District 1, the number 4 seed. Mount Juliet's going to take on Cane Ridge in the first round, among a lot of other great matchups. So if you want the full list of those, go to the TSSAA website. They've got the brackets now up and ready to go for the most part. There will be some more additions added later on, but should be a really fun weekend, I would say, of region playoff basketball action. And before you know it, they're going to be playing down the street in the Glass House for the state championship. Looking forward to seeing how these playoffs work out. And of course, we've got coverage of some of those games right here on WGNS, thanks to Primetime Sports and Brian Barrett. So check that out as well. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll talk MTSU men's tennis, the Battle of the Borough, and their special weekend. And we'll also review the NASCAR race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Also, the Blue Raider Insider Report with Chip Walters. All of that coming up on the other side of this break on All Sports Talk.
Are you paying too much for home and auto insurance? Let the experienced professionals at My Team Insurance in Murfreesboro help. With decades of experience, their team provides superior customer service, low rates, and a clear understanding of your coverage needs. Whether it's home, auto, health, business, or life insurance, My Team Insurance makes protection simple and affordable. Visit myteaminsurance.com today. That's myteaminsurance.com. My Team Insurance, proud supporters of the Blue Raiders.
Lace up your best kicks for a night of impact benefiting First Shot. Join us for the annual Sneaker Ball, presented by Venture Express. Spend Sunday, April 26th with NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl MVP Marcus Allen. The event kicks off at 6 with a VIP meet and greet at 5. Reserve your table today. Call Coach Andy Herzer at 615-631-5312. We'll see you at the Sneaker Ball, benefiting First Shot on April 26th.
It's time for the Doug Young Educator of the Month, proudly sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering on Spring Street. We're over at Siegel Middle School to celebrate a teacher who really goes the extra mile. 7th grade ELA specialist Eva Carroll. As part of the 7C team, Miss Carroll does more than just teach English. She helps her students find their own voices. She is known for making literature click and for creating a classroom where every kid feels like they belong. Whether she's collaborating with her team or mentoring a student, her passion for Siegel Middle is impossible to miss. For her incredible heart and hard work, our Doug Young Educator of the Month, sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering, receives a gift certificate to Toots and a beautiful plaque from L&K Trophy. Congratulations, Eva Carroll at Siegel Middle School, and thanks for all you do. To nominate your favorite teacher, go to wgnsradio.com/educator.
Next on All Sports Talk, it's the Blue Raider Insider Report with Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Let's start with Blue Raider baseball. Middle Tennessee picked up its third run rule win of the season. That was yesterday, taking down in-state rival Tennessee Tech 11-1 in 8 innings on Tuesday night. The Blue Raiders' first win over the Golden Eagles since March of 23 came in emphatic fashion behind a strong effort from 5 MTSU pitchers and 2 home runs from Dean O'Neill. The senior first baseman's hot night got started while Middle Tennessee held a 3-1 lead in the 6th inning as O'Neill drove a pitch down the right field line for a solo home run. This set off an offensive flurry from the Blue Raiders in the remaining 2 innings, with Owen Nowak adding to the lead in the same frame with an RBI single. The Blue Raiders continued to pour it on in the 7th inning. Brett Rogers lined a ball off the Blue batter's eye in center field for a 2-run homer. O'Neill cranked his second home run of the night with another opposite field solo shot. Nowak picked up 2 more RBIs in the 7th after Tennessee Tech's Jackson Rooker lost a lazy fly ball in the lights at Reese Smith Jr. Field with 2 outs. Clay Badalak and Cooper Clapp scurried to home to grow the lead to 10-1. And on the mound, Middle received a superb start from right-hander Abel Alberon. In his second appearance of the year, the junior college arm struck out 3 Golden Eagles while limiting Tennessee Tech's offense to just 1 hit over 4 2/3 innings. The Blue Raiders are back at home this weekend. They will be hosting Illinois State on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The Friday game will start at 3 o'clock. It looks like it's going to be about 70 degrees, folks, so another really nice weekend for Blue Raider baseball. All right, let's turn to tennis. Middle Tennessee junior Bertan Duran earned his first Conference USA Athlete of the Week honor, while seniors Kareem Alamin and Andre Horak were named Conference USA Men's Doubles Team of the Week for the second time this year. That was announced by the league office earlier today. In a thrilling matchup on Saturday against Old Dominion with a 45-minute rain delay where the score was tied at 3-3, junior Bertan Duran made a remarkable impact on Court 5. Despite a narrow loss in the first set tiebreak to Arian Sala,
He demonstrated resilience by winning the second set in a tiebreak and then took charge in the third set, securing a 6-2 win. Durant's focus and aggressive play clinched the exciting 4-3 win for Middle Tennessee over Rice. The following day, Durant continued his impressive performance with a solid 6-4, 6-2 victory over Kabir Kapasi on court 4. Women's tennis on the road to Clarksville for a match on Thursday at 1 o'clock against Austin Peay. Middle has an 11-2 overall record against Austin Peay. In previous matches, Middle has faced number 13 Vanderbilt and number 4 Auburn. And in the match against Vandy, senior Zen Lim played against Sonia McCavey on court 6, losing with scores of 6-love, 6-4. Although Lim fought to tie the second set at 4-4, McCavey secured the win with a final score of 6-4. Austin Peay has a record of 6-2 this year, currently on a 2-match winning streak. Maria Sorbello Morrison is in her 11th season as coach at Austin Peay. Couple of other quick notes. The Middle Tennessee Blue Raider men's golf team finished third at the Military City Collegiate, I should say, that took place down in San Antonio, Texas. And the Lady Raider basketball team, travel day today. They're up in Lynchburg, Virginia for a matchup with Liberty tomorrow night. The Blue Raider men are at home against UTEP at 6:30 at the Murphy Center. That's it for today. We'll have another update tomorrow right here on the Big G, WGNS.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9, 100.5, AM 1450, wgnsradio.com, and Big G TV.
Thank you, Chipper. This is All Sports Talk on WGNS, the Good Neighbor Network. Dylan Simmons with you live from the studio tonight. For those of you who are watching on Big G TV and on YouTube, you may have noticed I got a new haircut. And if you think it's good, let me know, because I'm trying something new, trying to see if it works out well, pretty bit. So we'll see how it goes. But I think it's pretty nice. So getting back to sports, let's talk MTSU men's tennis. Battle of the Borough took place this past weekend, and it had been much hyped for a while. A lot of people were excited about it, and for good reason. This has been kind of building for this program over the past few years to be able to host something like this. It had been a big calling card, a big point for Jimmy Borndame to be able to have an event like this, both at the Adams Tennis Complex and the Outdoor Tennis Complex, and they put it together. MTSU had 3 big matches, and they passed the test in a big way. Not only did they win 1, not only did they win 2, they won 3 matches. They won all 3 matches they played over the weekend. We mentioned it on the show on Thursday, how good the opponents were that MTSU is going up against. And that rung true. They took on Utah on Friday, Rice on Saturday, Old Dominion on Sunday. I said if you could win 2 of those matches, that is a wildly successful weekend. They swept the weekend. Get out the brooms, because they won all 3 matchups. Now, the Utah match on Friday was pretty much no issue for them, and they just dominated that matchup. That's a Big 12 team, and they just swept them off of their home floor. 4-0 victory. That just goes to show you, it doesn't matter what conference you're in. It's all about how you perform in the moment and how you're going to be able to attack the other team. And MTSU, they showed they were not afraid of Utah at all, and took them to the woodshed there. Now, the Old Dominion win was a bit more competitive. There was a lot of extra weight on the match. Chip just mentioned it on the Blue Raider Insider Report. But the Monarchs used to be in Conference USA, now in the Sun Belt, trying to establish themselves a little bit more. And this was going to be a tough match no matter what. Maybe the toughest matchup that MTSU had over the weekend. They had a 3-0 lead, but Old Dominion, those Monarchs, they're tough, they're feisty, and they're stubborn, and they did not go away. Came back, eventually made it 3-3, and Bertrand Duran came back, ended up getting the final point for MTSU to clinch that win. Well-deserved Conference USA Athlete of the Week marks for him, and it wasn't just him who was able to contribute in this match and all weekend. Kareem Al-Amin, Andre Horak continue to be maybe one of the best doubles teams in, I think, G5 tennis ranks, and they showed it again right here, really dominating all weekend long, helping MTSU to get those doubles points. We'll touch on that a bit more in a second, but those were absolutely massive for MTSU. Now, the Rice match was kind of like icing on the cake for the Blue Raiders, another domination job. I can't tell you how much that winning the doubles point helped them in all three of those matchups, because that got them started off on the right foot. They were able to carry that momentum into the rest of the matches that they had when it came to singles. And that's been the trend for them this season. To win the doubles point, use that to their ability and use that to their advantage, eventually able to get a bigger lead because of that and take away these wins. MTSU has only lost one match this season where they've won the doubles point, and I think that kind of statistic really speaks for itself when we're talking about the Blue Raiders. MTSU now 10-3 on the season. They have all the reason in the world to think that they can compete for a Conference USA top 25 marker. I should say a nationwide top 25 mark. I think they're number one in Conference USA right now. This kind of momentum, especially in your own tournament doing this, cannot be understated. It is just massive for MTSU as they look ahead to the rest of the year. And now it's up to them to make good on that opportunity and on that momentum. They're going to have a chance on Friday. Number 19 Princeton comes to town, and it's going to be a tremendous test for the Blue Raiders. If they win, though, that is a huge feather in their cap when it comes to this 2026 season. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but should be a fun one for MTSU. All right. The NASCAR Cup Series was at Atlanta Motor, otherwise known as Echo Park Speedway, for the Auto Trader 400 this past weekend. I don't really like calling it Echo Park. I think it should be called Atlanta Motor Speedway regardless, but no matter where you stand on that, this was a fantastic race. The NASCAR train just keeps rolling forward. Pleased to say I was in attendance, and man, this was a fun night of racing action. I say night, it started off in the afternoon, but eventually the race ran so long there was a red flag, and it eventually became a night race. But man, what a race this was. 260 laps of pure bliss if you're a racing fan. Pro tip, folks, if you have not been to a NASCAR race, I would absolutely recommend that you do so. You are not going to regret it one bit. It's one of the best sporting experiences, in my opinion, that you can have. There is nothing quite like going to a NASCAR race. It's completely different than going to a football game, a basketball game, baseball game, whatever the case may be. And I've been to all of them, but I think the most fun I have as a sports fan is when I'm live in attendance watching a NASCAR race. I don't know. There's just something special about getting to experience a moment like that. Now, talking points coming out of this race. Tyler Reddick has now won the first two races of the year. He won this race without a right front fender. How he did that is beyond me, but those 2311 cars have been bad fast this season, and Tyler Reddick, I mean, he's just making the most of that equipment, and he's now taken himself to two straight victories on the two drafting tracks to start off the year, Daytona and Atlanta. How good is Reddick right now? Is he the championship favorite? I think you'd have to think so based on what we've seen early in the year. Again, the speed, I know a lot of people will maybe put some sort of, I guess, detriment to that because it is a drafting track that Reddick's having success on, two drafting tracks, as a matter of fact. But speed is speed to me. And if you are quick on one track, you're going to be quick on other tracks. And I think Reddick has shown that so far. He's been smart with his equipment. Yes, he got involved in a wreck on Sunday, but his team persevered. They pushed through, got him back out there, and he was in the right place at the right time, won the race. And without a right front fender, which really should affect the aerodynamics, really didn't, he ends up winning the race that way. So, man, Tyler Reddick is on a heater so far to start the year. Can he win the first three races of the season? COTA's coming up this weekend. We'll talk a bit more about it tomorrow as well, but he's got a chance, I think, considering what he's done in the past at COTA. He's gone top five, I think, in the last 3 or 4 races that they've been to COTA, including, I want to say, getting a win last year, or not last year, a couple years ago, when he was in the 45 car for the first season, and I think he could very well do it again. Imagine that if he'd win the first 3 races of the season. That has not been done since, I believe, 1962. Marvin Patch, I believe, however you pronounced his last name. I think he was the last guy to do it, so that'd be history for Tyler Reddick and for NASCAR if that takes place. Racing at Atlanta, is it the best in NASCAR right now? As someone who is there in person and who has been to a Bristol race and a Talladega race, I think that's the best race I've ever watched live in person. And it was just, I don't know, something about the close quarters pack racing, the way the drivers had, to fight the cars, fight handling. It wasn't a perfect race. It wasn't just pure synergy in the drafting. And it's not like you could just make mistakes and be fine. You just drop back a few positions. No, here you make a mistake, you're wrecked, you're going through the infield like Kyle Larson did. So it was really cool to see that battle between guys trying to handle their cars and trying to handle the draft. That's what makes Atlanta such a special racetrack, and that's what makes seeing it in person such an epic experience. So I think the racing right now at Atlanta is the best in NASCAR. I don't agree with the idea that we should expand this to other mile-and-a-halves. I like the idea of Atlanta providing what Daytona and Talladega do, but in a confined space, because there's nothing quite like that. And I want that to stay unique because it builds that much more anticipation for the Atlanta race when it eventually comes around. I know a lot of people want to make that something we see in just about every race, and you can make the case to do that, but then it loses its specialty factor. And I think Atlanta needs to keep that because it's unlike any other race on the schedule. And if